Hi, it's Lucy here, and I want to start by saying Happy New Year to you all. Let's hope it's a great year of fun, good health, and of course lots of crafting too. But onto this video, and I'm excited to show you this. Even if you don't need a new die cutting machine, hopefully this video will still be enjoyable and it will give you more card making ideas, as I'll be showing what I've created using this manual die cutting machine and only the extra goodies that comes with it. It's very easy to assemble. All we need to do is place the handle piece onto the spindle and insert the screw. Then use the Allen key to tighten it. Pop the end plug over the screw to make it look nice, and we're done. I have some tips and tricks coming up too, and this machine also comes with a 12-month warranty. Okay, so let's open it up and take a look at what else is included. And we have here 2 cutting plates and a thinner adapter plate. Then we have this cute die set, which I'll be using today. Also, we have 10 thick smooth papers and an A4 polka dot embossing folder, which is great because you can add a whole sheet to it and divide it up later. And lastly, the thick base plate for the machine. Now, for newbies that have never used one of these machines or don't know much about them, a manual die cutting machine is a tool used by card makers and crafters to cut various shapes, designs, words and patterns out of paper and cardstock, even fabric and other types of materials. The dies are metal and you add them to the paper along with the required flat layers, and as the platform moves through the machine, it applies pressure to the dies, cutting the shapes into the material. So I've added the base plate, the adapter plate, the cutting plate, then the dies, paper and another cutting plate, and that's fairly regular to have all those plates on a die cutting machine. And I'm doing it this way up as I think it's usually recommended to cut facing upwards. I'm not sure why, maybe so you can see if it's cut all the way through or needs to go through again. But anyway, I thought it was a good way for us to see how it cuts because I haven't used this machine before, as you can see by the fresh cutting plates. I was waiting to do it together, and it's cut through so perfectly without any shims or papers needed. And the paper it comes with is thicker than most designer papers, so that's pretty impressive, I think. It's just as good as any of the other machines I've had before. There's a slight wobble to the machine while I'm turning it, but it doesn't affect the cutting, and I can't remember if my old manual ones did that too. So the reason for this video is the brand VEVOR asked me if I'd like to try out the die cutting machine and let you all know what I think of it. And die cutting machines are usually way too expensive, so I really wanted to see how this one is because it's a really good price point. And if I had known about it when I was looking for a new machine, I would have bought this myself, which is why I wanted to share the details with you all. And they have warehouses all over the world, so delivery is so quick and free. I'm die cutting most of the dies twice as I'm going to be creating 2 cards shortly, and I want to use these. And if we were to keep the bell and ribbon die cut one colour and flat, it wouldn't be very interesting, but if we cut the bells from the brown paper and add them to the white ribbon, this will give it much more appeal. And all you need to do this is glue and scissors. It's very easy. The machines come in this 9-inch size and a smaller 6-inch version as well. It's quite compact and I love how the sides come up. My large manual Sizzix machine didn't used to do that. It didn't close up, so it was quite bulky. And this is more like a Spellbinder's Platinum, which is more compact, but it's so expensive. I couldn't find it for under $240 when I was just searching. So that's a crazy price. And I know for new card makers or crafters on a budget, that's a huge amount to spend. So I only found one 9-inch in Australia and it was over $500. The 6-inch ones were over $300. So you'll be so happy to see the price of these ones in all the currencies in a minute. This is the main reason why I decided to review the VEVOR one. You may have seen me do this many times, or you may be new to my channel, but I love to use a lollipop stick, a pen, or any tubular item to bend my die cuts to give them more dimension, and that's what I'm doing here. I'm going to have links to each country's website down below in the description box. Just click on the word more and it shows the full description. and it'll include the 5% off code for my viewers too. So while I'm putting these die cuts together, I'll tell you the price for this machine in each country's currency, plus delivery and any payment plans available. I researched each website on the 1st of January to make it nice and easy for us to calculate the shipping days it takes. Okay, so the first one is in US, it's $111.99, and the delivery, if you were to order it on the 1st, it says that delivery is the 2nd to the 5th, so you would get it the same week. In Australia, it's $145.99, and it would come from the 2nd to Saturday the 6th of January. Canada, $136.99, and it's the same as Australia, the 2nd to the 6th, the delivery, and you can use Afterpay in Canada. For the UK, it's £79.99, and delivery is Saturday the 6th to Sunday the 7th, and you can pay through Klarna, 3 payments, I think it is. And Europe, they also have a website and warehouse, and it's €106 and 99 cents. And delivery is Thursday the 4th until Tuesday the 9th of January. And I think I mentioned before, it has a 12-month warranty and 30 days no hassle returns as well if you weren't happy with it. And apparently, I'd never heard of them before, but VEVOR actually have 10 million fans and users worldwide, which is on their website. They're a tools company mostly, more so than crafting. They also have 24/7 customer service as well. I thought I'd cut off each little individual piece to see how this looks with the green stem in between, but it turns out that you don't really notice, so it wasn't worth the bother, and I can still add them all together on my card and you won't even notice that I've actually done that really. Oh, also if you are interested in this machine, my 5% off code works for all the websites in any countries. And if you aren't in any of the countries that I mentioned and you are interested, you can comment on this video what country you're in, and I'll find out more information for you. So I just wanted to give some tips and tricks as well. So instead of throwing out any printer paper printouts, I reuse them as my shims, and this means that I add the printer paper on top of the dies to create another layer of pressure to cut deeper. Not always necessary, but if using thick paper to die cut or your cutting plates are getting worn, this is quite often needed. And you can just try one piece at a time, and if you still need more pressure, try 2 sheets, and then even 3 or 4 I have before, but go in increments so that you don't make it too thick for your machine to handle. Which comes to my next point: do not push your plates through when they're giving a lot of resistance, as this is how we, i.e. me, many times have broken handles, and they're impossible to fix as it breaks the mechanisms inside and then your machine is gone. The instruction booklet is in English and it's very easy to read and understand. It has 2 easy diagrams for die cutting plate layers and embossing layers. It also mentions the machine is compatible with most manufacturers' embossing folders and dies, which is great, as you can use any of your normal dies and embossing folders that you already have. So let's try out the embossing folder now. I've never had or even seen such a large embossing folder, and I love it. Have you seen them this big before? It embosses the whole sheet perfectly. I wish more came in this size, as it'll be great to have lots of embossed sheets on hand for quick textured backgrounds. So anyway, back to some more tips while I create a couple of cards with the die cuts I've just made. And another tip is use the whole area of your cutting plates, not just in the center of the plates. This way they get wear and tear evenly and you get a longer lifespan out of your plates. You can also turn them over so you use both sides as well. And when you get two new plates, only use one as the cutting plate where possible. It's always clean then, and it doesn't create any unwanted embossing into your papers. Another tip is to use low tack tape or washi tape to secure the dies in place. I'll do this when the piece of paper and the die is similar in size and I don't have a lot of wiggle room if the die moves. And I'll also use it if I'm die cutting a certain pattern paper part and I want it to cut in an exact spot on the pattern of paper. Otherwise, I don't always use washi. I think there's also a magnetic sheet that you can purchase as well that will hold them in place. I haven't tried that yet. Okay, onto this card, and I've just die cut a banner with Uniquely Creative spanner dies, and it also worked perfectly. Another tip is to die cut first and then emboss. If I embossed it first, then die cut it into shape, it would flatten out the polka dots and you wouldn't have such a lovely embossed impression. So most of you, my regular viewers, will know that I usually use my electric die cutting machine, which I bought a year ago after I broke another handle off a manual cutting machine. And I was going to buy another manual one, but they were so expensive that I decided I may as well pay that little bit extra to get an electric one. But I'm so excited to have another manual one too, especially as it doesn't need to be plugged in like my electric one. So moving it about is much easier, especially for my videos. I've also found these sentiments in my stash, and so I've decided to use those. I thought that the bells went well with an engagement or a wedding card. When I'm gluing it, because I've given dimension to the bells and ribbons, I'm just putting glue on the parts that are going to be touching the card itself. I'll pop an acrylic block on it to help the glue dry to the card, and then I can start on the next card. And I'm going to really test the machine this time by adding a lot of paper layers and see how it handles it. So first, I'll roughly cut out a piece of white paper to a bit larger than my rectangle die. And then I'm going to tear the rest of the paper and layer them on top of each other to give a lovely textured background to my card. So I'll just add some double-sided tape to each one and then pop them on top of each other. So this is quite a test for it because this paper is not thin and there's quite a few layers there. And I'm just going to cut off the sides so that it just helps me with knowing where to place my rectangle die. So I'll pop the rectangle through and we'll have a look and see. I didn't put any extra papers or shims with it, so it didn't go through all the way. So I've just done it again with a doubled over sheet of paper, and the impression is really good. All the stitching is there and it worked perfectly. The only thing is I just needed to use my knife just to finish it off because it is so thick. So it did pass the test for me, definitely. I'm just using my Distress Oxide inks because I don't feel like the tears are prominent enough on the card. In real life, it's much easier to see, but on video, you can't see it so much. So I decided just to mostly do it over the torn parts of each piece, and then I'll just lightly go over the rest of the card as well, just to blend it slightly. And then this is my background done. These are fairly clean and simple cards for me today, but hopefully you really like these ideas as well. You can use anything in your stash as well to create these. I'm using my craft knife and ruler to cut the sentiments with borders, but if you have a steady hand, scissors are a really good option here too. I have a little extra space on this sentiment piece, so I'll add a little silver die cut heart and that will fill it in and look cute. Now to glue everything down, and again I'll just add glue to the floor on the sides where they'll touch the card. I love how they've turned out, just using two papers and rolling them to give dimension. I'll add some thin foam tape to the sentiments, and when the card is clean and simple, I do like to include dimension and texture, and I've added both to both of the cards today. So for me, I think this die cutting machine is almost perfect. The cutting and embossing was perfect. The price is so much cheaper than any other machines I've found. And the same week delivery, and in some cases next day delivery, is incredible. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you are interested in buying this machine or the smaller 6-inch version, don't forget I have a 5% off code in the description box below too. And I may also receive a small commission if you decide to buy one after watching my video, so thanking you in advance. I hope you have a really crafty week and happy crafting. Bye for now.